Oi, oi, alright, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review, and it's another edition of Soundbites, a bunch of new albums reviewed quick and dirty, like ranking them bad, mid, decent, great, or next level. Today's edition is a rap banquet, catching up on a whole bunch of hip hop releases that I haven't had the time, or in some instances, really even the interest in doing a full deep dive on. We're going to cover Ghostface Killah, Chief Keef, Future and Metro Boomin, J. Cole, and Roc Marciano. So let's start things off with Ghostface Killah, Set the Tone. So back in May, Ghostface, aka Tony Starks, aka maybe my favourite member of the Wu-Tang, depending on what day of the week it is. I kind of go back and forth between Ghostface, Raekwon, Method Man. That's a very basic take, but it is true nonetheless. Those are my favourites. Anyway, back in May, Ghostface popped up and announced his first album after a fairly quiet period. It's now been about 5 years since his last one, Ghostface Killahs, and the resulting album, Set the Tone, is, well, it's a bit shit. It starts off promisingly. 6 minutes is a passable bit of boom bap with a nice luxurious sounding piano melody gliding over a rough and rugged beat, with Ghostface just doing his thing. Then we get Method Man on Pair of Hammers, who levels up, pretty much everything he's attached to with charisma alone. But his bars on this track are actually hard. And it's a really strong feature from Ghostface's Wu-Tang brother. The run continues actually. Skate Odyssey comes in with a lightly funky summer cruising number, which according to the credits is actually produced by Ghostface as well. And vocals from October London just add the finishing touches to a beat that could easily soundtrack a party on a luxury yacht. Not only that, but Raekwon shows up, another Wu legend, so soon after Method Man just dropped the mic, is great, and like Meth, here the chef equally pulls up pretty hard lyrically. And after this, we get the Nas featuring Scar Tissue, which has a pretty hard beat with a cool sample from a 70s artist called Benny Soberdaja. Ghostface is going off on this one, but I don't know, gets a bit overexcited and drops some homophobic F slurs, which is just jarring in 2024. And then Nas shows up for a feature. Nas is Nas, but this isn't a super memorable verse. It's always nice to see a crossover between Shaolin and Queens, but it's good. It's good. After this, though, the album just drops off an absolute cliff. Kilo in the Safe is annoying. We then get a skit, a track called No Face, which would have been a great track for a Kanye feature circa like Life of Pablo era or earlier, but in 2024, after multiple allegations of creepy behavior, it's just not it. The tracks get progressively worse. One of the absolute worst is Touch You, a track that has this guy Sean Weir re-singing the R&B hit Let Me Love You with lyric changes that are sure to make 14-year-olds pretty stoked. Honestly, the first 4 tracks are great and look even better next to the conveyor of turds that we get after, but I don't think they're enough for me to give this a rating any higher than bad. Next is Chief Keef and Almighty So 2. This is the 5th album from the Chicago rapper who became famous for popularizing drill in the early to mid 2010s. I'll be honest, I know very, very little about Keef bar a few features crossing over with artists that I do listen to. He's always been someone like I've heard about but rarely ever heard. So I got curious enough to check on this record after seeing a bit of hype for it on Reddit, but honestly not much here is really resonating with me. I don't really have much context as to what Chief Keef is all about, and aside from a few features and a few bars here and there, it's not really doing that much for me. Tierra Whack has a great feature on a track that is otherwise pretty repetitive as hell and actually quite annoying. I was quite surprised though by Sexy Red's track Great Trees being pretty enjoyable. I haven't heard much from her before, obviously seen a lot in the press, but her bars are actually quite charismatic and help elevate that track. The track Believe I actually really enjoy, but like many songs here, it has such a long intro. Prince Charming has some of my favourite bars and lyrics. Yeah, I don't know, most of it just doesn't really click for me, and I think is a bit messy. For instance, the track 123 could better use the hook that they're sampling from, while at the same time there's also so many horn swells and all of this other stuff just popping off in the beat. It's just like tripping over itself. It's also an incredibly long album, so I think some of the good stuff is maybe just getting lost. I'm going to give this one a mid. Next on our list, we're going to briefly stop by Future and Metro Boomin's second collaborative project, released just a few weeks after their first one of this year, which is, the first one was We Don't Trust You. This is called We Still Don't Trust You. The first of these albums, the first of those two, dropped back in March, and honestly, it's proven to be one of my favourite rap albums of the year so far. It's fun, it's packed with great features. Future himself is really engaged and like leaning in, and of course, it kicked off, you know, the biggest beef we've seen in hip hop in years, with Like That, Kendrick Lamar's feature on this track being his kind of opening attack on Drake. The other aspect of that first album I appreciated was that it was relatively light on filler for a trap album, and that seems to be really hard to pull off in this genre. Well, the first one seems to have been free of filler because it turns out they had a whole other album's worth of it and were saving it for this one, We Still Don't Trust You. This is a 25 track, 2-part record. For some reason, the last 7 tracks are separated as their own disc, and look, it's not all bad. Some of it is quite fun, in fact, but it absolutely can't maintain the quality across that entire track list. It's also the lack of variety on this one that works against it. For the most part, this record is Future in his slow jam sentimental bag. Again, that doesn't mean it's bad by definition. He can do this really well, but there's just so damn much of it on this one. And some bangers do kind of come up to the forefront eventually, most of them right at the end. Beat It has a spooky sounding chipmunk soul sample, which sounds great when it finally kicks in after a long intro. And then there's Always Be My Fault with its gritty synths and Future's kind of pleading, frustrated auto-tune over the top, which I really like. I still love the first album in this series, but this one's definitely mid by comparison. One thing I haven't really spoken about on that Future and Metro joint was the track Red Leather. Interesting because it featured J. Cole, who was the target of some fairly venomous Kendrick digs on that track Like That, which came out on the first Future record from a few weeks before. Admittedly, the Cole feature on Red Leather doesn't really offer much of a response other than a few lines that kind of speak to his outlook on rap being more of an art than a competitive sport. It was more just the gesture of Cole being actually present on a Future album after all that went down that kind of raised my eyebrows, and I guess it kind of says it all about his position in all of this. And it also did happen a week after Cole tried to drop a response to Kendrick with 7 Minute Drill on a mixtape aptly titled Might Delete Later. And it was aptly titled because 7 Minute Drill, being a pretty limp-wristed response to Kendrick, was actually pulled from streaming just after a few days, I think, as Cole apparently had second thoughts about rising to the bait and kind of compromising his art over sport outlook. And again, let's be real, it was not exactly lighting the world on fire. Effectively, the shots that he was firing at Kendrick were that, you know, his albums are too arty with no bangers, which is ironic given how much Cole prides himself on being a quote-unquote artist. At the end of the day, it's clear as the dust has settled, with Kendrick in my mind clearly the victor, that his beef was pretty much with Drake, and vice versa. Cole didn't really have any beef with Kendrick either, other than, you know, his low-level jealousy / inferiority complex about Kendrick that he's demonstrated throughout his discography. As for the rest of this mixtape, I actually think it's pretty good. I always enjoy Cole's projects, though I count myself more of a casual fan. I like the darker tracks here where the rapper gets to really stretch his legs lyrically. Tracks on here that are like that are like Crocodile Tears with its sparse piano and siren beat being a good example. He delivers great energy over the chipmunk soul of Ready 24, and Sticks and Stones and Stealth Mode are also other highlights. There are a couple of slow jams which I guess break up the track listing somewhat, but I just don't find them that compelling. Overall, the mixtape actually works better without 7 Minute Drill because that track is very much its own thing, and the release comes to a natural end anyway with Trey the Truth. I'd say this one's decent. The next one we're hitting is this latest from New York underground rapper Roc Marciano. This is the artist's 11th studio album, but I've not really heard much from him before. If you've followed the channel for a while, you might know that I do tend to kind of gravitate to a lot of underground stuff, and you know, I've got tons of reviews in the locker for Mike and Boldy James, Real Bad Man, Arm and Hammer. So immediately putting on Marciology, I felt comfortable in the presence of these old school dusty beats, which are impressively all, I think, self-produced by Marciano himself. There's a very lackadaisical aesthetic to the whole project, which I both kind of love and kind of hate. Love because the beats where things just feel like they're kind of drunkenly stumbling along, like BB's Kids, for instance, I just always find super cool. It's such a difficult line to ride, to construct a beat that utterly bangs while at the same time all the elements sound like they're going to fall apart. The parts that I don't like to this lackadaisical energy is sometimes Marciano's delivery, which I'm finding myself struggling with, and probably just because I'm not used to it. I'm not used to him as an artist. I'm all for that laid back delivery. I'm obviously a big fan of Boldy James, who does exactly the same thing, but across this record I find Marciano is actually breaking up a lot of his verses, and sometimes the flows just feel very stop-start, which is a shame because often the beats are so good they're begging to just be demolished by, you know, some not even high energy verses, but just consistency. BB's Kids is unique because the beat is lackadaisical, but Marciano's energy is flowing and quite high, and the contrast is awesome. The more time I spend with the record, the more I acclimatise to Marciano, so I think he'll be an artist I warm to over time. Overall, I'm going to say this one is decent, but I look forward to hearing more in time. Alright, that's it from me. Time to knock it on the head. Let me know in the comments if you've heard any of these and what your thoughts are on them. Take a look in the description for some other related reviews that you might like, and if you can be asked to do all of that, subscribe, stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just have some abuse in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, take care, mind how you go. Alright then, take care, yep.